Good evening, everyone. This is Atmospheric Alex here, back with another severe weather outlook and discussion. And we're going to be talking about the severe weather chances over the next couple of days, as well as our long range severe weather outlook going into the rest of, say, mid to late May. But we're going to start off this video with our slight risk of severe weather currently in effect down in portions of Oklahoma today, level 2 out of 5 on the severe weather scale. The main hazards for this risk will include a bit of a risk for tornadoes, not much to be said here. We're talking about originally a 5% chance of tornadoes with a strong tornado potential that has since been shelved due to significant uncertainty. And you can see our wind risk is also 15% here. Could this get upgraded at the 9 o'clock update? I don't think so, but I'm not going to fully rule out that chance. When we look at our models a little later on, you'll see why I say it. And for our hail risk, we do have a large hail risk down here across portions of Texas and Oklahoma, with our supercells currently firing up in our open worm sector. As we take a look at tomorrow, things look a little bit more significant out there. We have a level 3 out of 5 on the severe weather scale, an enhanced risk for severe weather, which actually can go into the DFW area, other portions of northern and central Texas as well. Tomorrow does look like a pretty active day and a pretty widespread day. It's marginal risk going really far to the east there. You can see for some of our hazards, we are talking about 75 plus mile an hour winds here across a pretty large area. You can see in your hatch shade areas, including portions of, say, Fort Worth here, and also at Dallas, Texas, you are included in this significant wind risk. As we take a look at our hail risk, I assume, yep, this is significant as well for the DFW and the Dallas area. So maybe you all will finally see a significant severe weather event. I know there was one earlier on this year, but since then, things have been quite quiet for you all, but that could definitely change tomorrow. That is what our outlook looks like for tomorrow. In our day 3 outlook, we have basically not much to talk about, just a large marginal risk of severe weather, and really that's about everything there. As we take a good look at our current radar, you can see we do have some blips forming down here in portions of Texas. Those probably aren't going to become a big issue, and a lot of storm chasers are down there right now. Those are actually surface-based storms. However, there looks to not be enough forcing to get these going, but these up here, some pretty good-looking supercells already firing up near Elk City, Oklahoma here. I'm going to go ahead and check if we have any rotation on any of these storms right now. And at the moment, it doesn't look like we do, but we could maybe see some more rotation later on. If not, that very large hail will probably be the main risk out of these storms here. We're going to go ahead and now take a look at our HRRR model, which has gotten it today completely wrong thus far, other than our storms in Texas, which, like I said, aren't really expected to do much. You can see one forms near Throckmorton there, but then kind of dies out. Gets a little bit of rotation before, and then it kind of falls apart. Our storms up near Elk City are not on the models, so not a good job by our HRRR model. It's not portraying the situation correctly. But look at these storms up here approaching northern Oklahoma, moving on through tonight. They begin to bow out pretty dramatically here. Look at this. I'm going to kind of highlight this. You can see it right here, kind of what looks to be a bow echo pushing through Oklahoma City and Norman, potentially as we go into around, say, 10 to 12 tonight. So that is something I think we're really going to have to monitor. Maybe perhaps we're an even more significant wind risk, and that continues on through. You can see your wind barbs. We're talking about some really elevated sustained wind values there, and this bow echo continues to push through, even intensifies overnight, and this just really continues to be an issue going into southeastern Oklahoma. More storms fire up behind that going into tomorrow morning. It's going to be a loud and stormy and windy night up ahead, with also a lot of hail involved as well. Moving into today's ingredients now in our HRRR model, you can see it does a decent job initializing the Cape, though I do think we'll have a little more storm energy than forecasted. I actually checked mesoscale analysis and we saw that. We see this nice plume of storm energy kind of right within here. That is a really good area for surface-based convection, but unfortunately we aren't quite seeing that at this current point in time. Maybe riding the northern edge of that, where your Elk City storms are, so that could be a little more favorable. You can see your Cape does continue to funnel north going into the overnight hours. Those storms look to be in a good environment. Then after that, you see your storms here, and you're probably thinking, Alex, why on earth are we seeing significant severe storms form in 800 storm energy. Like you said, 1,000 storm energy is required. I mean, what is this, magic or something? Well, I'm going to show you a tool in just a minute that kind of explains all that. You can see your storm energy kind of continues to sit around a bit, and I'll note that this line could become a little bit more intense in the southeastern Oklahoma as it gets a lot more surface based. We see around 3,000 Cape down here is kind of plume, and that could become pretty problematic. Remember what I was just talking about a minute ago as to, why on earth we're seeing significant severe weather with such low values of storm energy? We're going to go ahead and take a look at your most unstable capes. Cape is a storm energy kind of aloft in your atmosphere a bit, and is a much better tool in looking at elevated thunderstorms, which we could be talking about. That line of storms tonight can maybe be a bit more elevated in nature, and you can see we don't have 800 Cape, we have around 1,000 to 1,200, so you do have a little bit more of a favorable environment here. Though when we're talking about damaging winds, they can go on for a long time, so it doesn't matter much anyway. And then, of course, you could see it encounters this plume over here, and I do think that could cause potentially some greater issues, and we'll have to wait and see if models can really catch on to that a little bit more. But that's what that currently looks like with your storm energy. As we take a look at your storm relative helicity here, you can clearly see that if we did have storms in this area, we'd be talking about a lot of problems. Look at those green, those yellow colors there. Instead, we'll be seeing storms firing up to the north in this environment here, where I can't rule out an isolated tornado. You have some favorable helicity going on there. And where, the Elk City storm is right now, it's not in much of a favorable environment. In fact, it's going to move out of that environment. And we're talking about values between 30 to 60. Not that favorable. But of course, things will uptick overnight. Those storms could be out of the way by that point. You can see this line does have pretty favorable tornado ingredients here, other than the fact that it might not have as much surface storm energy as we'd like it to. But once it gets over here, could we maybe see a more elevated tornado risk? I wouldn't say for certain, but there is a chance. There is a little more helicity here. You got a lot more storm energy in this area as well of southeastern Oklahoma. So that's kind of an area we should watch out for. Just in case things hit the fan, that's exactly why. And if we combine all of our parameters together, we get our supercell composite. As my screen freaks out there, you could see if we had storms down here, they'd be in a pretty favorable environment. Nothing volatile, but certainly favorable enough for tornadic activity. And they're not down there. They're probably not going to form into much, but you can see we do have decent supercell composite values where that line will move through tonight. And I mean, that's exactly why you have your damaging wind risk as well, because you do have favorable severe weather ingredients, just not all of it is at the surface. So that's very important to note. Then over here, again, you have a pretty good environment. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at tomorrow's severe weather risk, as it has a lot more of a complicated situation here. But we're going to take a look here at what our radar could look like maybe tomorrow afternoon. And we're already starting things off pretty strong here. Look at this. We have a pretty bona fide supercell near Snyder and Sweetwater there in Texas. I'm actually using your 1 kilometer reflectivity rather than your composite reflectivity, so we can see some more mesoscale features. We could see the actual hooks on your supercells, as they would appear according to radar. That's pretty cool, and I think this is a good tool to help the general public understand what your storms might look like as they're heading towards you. And you could see pretty crazy looking supercell there. Classic eagle split supercell, I have to really note. I mean, go ahead and take a look at this here. You can see classic eagle split supercell right there. And that would for sure contain very large hail and a tornado risk as well. And anything that latches along this boundary could have a heightened tornado risk. We'll go over that when we go over our ingredients. But then boom, I mean, the next hour, look at, you have supercells everywhere popping up across the board. That's kind of insane to look at there. And even more supercells kind of training behind. It wouldn't shock me if we saw a strong tornado tomorrow. I'm going to put that right out in the open immediately. I do think that sufficient boundary interactions could potentially cause higher helicity values there. Look at your mineral wells. We have another well-established supercell there going into, later on tomorrow evening. And then this all clusters up into one big line, and very damaging winds. We're talking gusts between 75 to maybe even 90 miles an hour are going to be possible in some of these storms. Look at some of your flags here. I don't usually point this out, But look at this. We have 50 knot sustained winds right there. That orangish little shape on your screen right there. That is some very damaging, potentially even destructive winds in some of those storms. And that is going to be pushing into portions of central Texas there. And we could be talking about a lot of problems. Look at that. Your line continues all throughout the night and really definitely going to be a widespread event tomorrow across Texas. As we take a look at your dew points for tomorrow, this is quite an important tool. You can see where we do have a bit of a triple point here that sets up. This is very important. Right within here, that is a very favorable area for storm development, and you're going to see much greater helicity values where all your boundaries intersect right there. I think that's going to be a tornado hot zone for tomorrow, and depending on how many supercells form, depends on how significant your tornado risk could become. And then that continues through. You have dew points in the upper 60s, even low 70s in some areas, and that is going to cause your line to continue overnight. But as we take a look at our storm energy here, what could that possibly be looking like? We're talking around 3,500 cape here, potentially even peaking near 4,000. So a lot of storm energy in a very bundled up, tightly packed up environment right there along your pseudo, or I don't know if it's a pseudo triple point or a real triple point. You do almost sort of have a bit of a meso low pressure system right here. So you could call this a miniature triple point in nature. We're going to go ahead and take a look at your helicity values a little bit later on, but you can see your storm energy continues to thrive throughout the night. And let's take a look here at your 3 cape as well. This is a good tool to identify where tornadoes will be possible, and it really accounts for surface-based interactions. And right here, you can see we do have a pretty heightened area of 3 cape, upwards of 100 units, which is pretty favorable in this environment. You can see back here we have, even some more sufficient stuff going on. That could be a bit of a problem. And so for sure, we do have a tornado hot zone in place tomorrow. And your 3 cape will continue to increase overnight. As your storms approach the Gulf, that's actually another reason that increases. In terms of your storm relative helicity, you can clearly identify an area of higher helicity values right here in your blue and your green colors, and especially, take a look at that right there. Certainly going to be a tornado threat with any supercells that form right on that intersection point with all your boundaries combining into each other. So that is something we need to note for. And certainly, and you can see it right here, we do have a strong tornado risk with some of your supercells along that intersection point. So just kind of bear that in mind. They're not calling for strong tornadoes, but if we do see at least one of them occur, don't be very surprised at all. This is a very mesoscale day, and stuff can kind of get out of control for no apparent reason. That will all continue throughout the night, and we can see spin up tornadoes along your line. For your supercell composite, we do have quite a favorable environment here that develops along your intersection point, and then everywhere else it gets quickly unfavorable. So that is important to note. You're going to have much more of a damaging wind risk if things become unfavorable too quickly. Now we're going to go ahead and take a brief look at our long-range severe weather outlook. What could we be expecting after these next 2 days of severe weather? Well, it's going to remain a bit quiet for a little bit of time. We're looking at this here, and our storm energy will continue to return starting around the 13th of May, or really the 14th of May, but you could see a good environment there for Oklahoma. But we could see maybe some mesoscale plains events, but we're going to see a much stronger lower level jet ramp up after that. And as we head on through into, say, the 15th of May, you could see we do have, look at that environment, very favorable environment there. This would be the next possible day of a significant severe weather event. Look at that corridor right there. If we see storms form in that area, damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes will be a possibility. It's a bit far out, so not a forecast, but is certainly a possibility. These storms continue on through. Look at them marching through the Chicago area. I'm kind of watching out for that too. As we head into Saturday, wow, this is the latest run of the GFS. I have not seen this yet. That is an incredibly favorable environment across the Midwest right there. And we are talking about maybe some storms firing up like right down here, moving on off to the northeast through time. that could potentially become a pretty significant issue. But again, thankfully, this is kind of far out, so things could change. And for sure, we do have severe weather on the GFS. We'll look at the ensembles in just a minute to compare and contrast. And then as we continue through, this actually can move maybe up to the northeast a bit. Look at stuff down here in the plains, really gets going, really gets ignited. We're going to be talking about a lot of mesoscale events down there, kind of similar to today and tomorrow in a sense, where we could potentially see isolated corridors of heightened tornado potential. Look at that there, another very favorable environment, and what is that? The GFS is really going crazy. That's a ridiculous supercell. What is the GFS doing? It's not a mesoscale model. It can't be doing that. And then you can go ahead and see we do have our sporadic, favorable, potentially even volatile environments that set up for the plains. And really, this pattern continues on through. So we take a good look at our storm energy here as time progresses. As we continue, as we start to see moisture advect out of the Gulf here, we're going to begin to see a lot of storm energy flood into the U.S. And by the time we head into Saturday, look at all that storm energy there across the Ohio Valley and Midwest. This is not a forecast, but we're seeing a little more consistency trying to develop on the models. And yeah, take a look at that. Constant moisture feeding into the U.S. by this time, so we are definitely going to be seeing a return of severe weather, possibly even significant severe weather as we head through mid to late May. Our supercell composite, we're going to really quickly go through this. We don't have a lot of time, but certainly a favorable environment on most of the days going up ahead. Something to really monitor. Stuff like that as well. As we take a good look at our GEFS ensemble model for our winds and our mid-levels here, kind of aloft, you can see we are starting to see some ascending flow return into your plains and into your Midwest. You're starting to see your wind barbs kind of go off like this. That is ascending, and that is very favorable for severe weather because you'll get a lot of moisture advecting out of the Gulf, and your crossover could definitely cause significant severe weather. And this can continue on through, and we don't really know what's going to happen towards late May just yet. Our main supercell composite, also on our GEFS ensemble model, we do have some pretty good signals that begin returning. Look at that one for Thursday, May 14th in the plains. That is a little bit far out, but a significant severe weather signal, possibly, not likely, but we'll watch that and kind of keep tabs on that. But you could definitely see we do have our supercell composite flooding up north a little bit. Kind of incoherent signals, though. We're not talking about anything too extreme as of yet, so potentially our very favorable environments might not be as favorable as first thought, or they could be a lot more favorable. We're going to have to wait and see and continue to watch model trends for sure. Our maximum supercell composite here also kind of goes like this. That looks pretty significant there, so we're going to have to watch out for that. As we head up into the Midwest, though, I've been kind of looking at some other days. Look at that. We have a lot of red colors, pink colors across your screen. This is basically the highest end supercell composite. So this is if everything went well, everything continued to uptrend, which whether or not it will, time will only tell. But definitely a favorable environment will remain in place for a long time. And with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my little corner with weather community, share this video with friends, family on social media, and even feel free to leave a comment in the section below. With that being said, you all have a wonderful night, everyone. Stay very weather aware out there, and I'll see you back here whenever I upload next. It's going to be a very busy week for me, so maybe I can get one upload in, but we'll have to wait and see.